Cuyahoga Sound Podcast. I'm Evan Stone.
I'm Chuck Schilling.
Today we have with us
Dan Bruce.
Dan Bruce. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. Can you tell everyone what it is you do in the music scene here?
Yeah, I'm a guitarist, mostly jazz, but I do classical. I play a bunch of weddings, stuff like that. I play in some rock groups. I kind of just, if somebody will pay me, I'll generally play it, usually.
Nice.
But mostly jazz, mostly a bunch of projects around town, different people's original music, stuff like that. Cleveland Jazz Orchestra.
Cool. You a Cleveland guy?
No. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and then kind of been around after college. College was Bowling Green. Then I ended up here, and that was like 2000. So I was here for like 3 or 4 years around then, and then went to Texas, and then went to Chicago for 10 years, and then ended up back here.
Cool.
So
Did you do jazz at Bowling Green?
I did, yeah. I like guitar performance, so it was classical and jazz.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I did the same thing at Kent State.
Oh, cool.
I
Nice.
did a lot more partying than learning.
Who was there? Who'd you study with?
George Bachman.
Okay. Is he still there?
No, I believe that I was one of his last students.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
Cool. You were in Chicago for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do a lot of... closer. Hey, can you hear me now?
I try not to interrupt, but if we want to make a scene, we can make a scene.
Tell us about your time in Chicago. We'll start with that.
It was great. It was my wife and I just moved there after school and just didn't have any jobs or anything. So the first year or so was kind of rough, but it was really cool. It was very welcoming. The guitarists were they hung a lot. There was a lot of barbecues that was all musicians and stuff, which is cool. And I would just meet people and they'd be like, oh man, I need a sub for this gig. I need to sub this day of teaching or whatever. So, and there's just a lot of work there. So it's cool. And so I just started working a lot and playing gigs and teaching. And eventually I got a full-time teaching gig for a while. And just playing a lot of different stuff. A lot of vocalists, a lot of jazz. That's where I started the group that's this is the continuation of that group here that just did the album. It was a sextet there. And just a fun scene because, it's not New York. It feels a little more chill and it's a little more like neighborhoods and you kind of know everybody, but then half of them are touring the world with pretty famous people. And so it's really cool. And there's just there's 100 brilliant guitarists there. So it's a little intimidating, but they're very cool. So it's just it's cool that you can go out most nights and go see 3 different guitarists and learn a lot from watching them.
Nice.
So it was fun.
Cool. Great.
So did you bring those guys to Cleveland to make this?
No, I just kind of started I always do stupid things like this. We recorded our first album and it ended up coming out a month after I left to move here or something like that. I think I moved here before that album came out. So it's the band. So then touring to support that album ended up being a mix of some people from here and some people from there because some people just couldn't make the tour or whatever. Yeah. So that was kind of cool, just mixing the two. And then when I was here, I just decided I wanted to just do a group of people here, and I added some instruments, and so it's getting to be a ridiculously large band, which is fun, but also hard to get everybody paid.
Yeah, coordination's got to be tough too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's great, and it's I've been writing for 3 horns a lot lately, which has just been a lot of fun. And they're all they can all double on so many different things. So Brad on saxophone, he'll do soprano, alto, tenor, bass clarinet. And then Chris Coles will do alto, tenor. And then he's been doing vocoder. So I started writing lyrics and making him do vocoder stuff, or I'll write it in a horn. Then trombone. And then on the album, the most recent album, the album that this group just put out, kind of like everybody, we were going to record it like the first month of COVID or something. So it's just like, it was like, okay, great. So I sat on it forever. And in that time, I just kind of like, I was jokingly telling people it was like my pet sounds because I just kept adding stuff to it. I was like, man, I could lay some like synthesizers on top of this and Ableton Live and all this stuff. So some of this stuff has a lot of layers on it, but it was fun. So then that was cool because the release show last week, I was able to get everybody there. So like Joel Negus was playing synths and everything, so he was there for the show, and Theron was playing keys and had the full band basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the band's name?
Beta Collective. It's kind of like Dan Bruce's Beta Collective. I don't know what.
With a colon in there.
There is a colon, which was just like, I just thought it looked cooler. I was just trying really hard. It's like I'm old, so I'm just like trying really hard to be hip. So I was like, colon. But then the thing that's hilarious about that is anytime we're in any kind of like Chamber Music America has this directory of ensembles, we're the first one. Because colon comes before A. And I was like, sweet. So,
Does it come before parenthesis?
I don't know. But I don't know if there's another band with parentheses
They
yet.
do
but
rock, paper, scissors in that case.
Yeah.
Who goes first?
We'll have to figure it out. The initial thing was like, I was just trying to find a band name, and there was some definition having to do with like Wall Street or like money investing, and beta. What they were calling beta was it was something like the amount of inherent risk in a system that you're willing to accept.
Oh.
And I thought that was really cool with like improvised music and
Yeah.
just like risk and all that stuff. So that's kind of what made me be like, oh, that's cool. And then I don't know.
Man, that's
But
really
I like that.
interesting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very cool.
and I kind of like the idea of like beta, like you're beta testing something, like you're just always kind of reshaping it or molding it. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But-
I did get to check you out one time back in March, I think. The Heights Music Cop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was playing
Yeah.
guitar with the band right after you guys.
Oh nice. Okay.
And
Was that Apostle Jones?
Apostle Jones.
Yeah, nice.
And
You guys sounded great.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is that when you guys decided to coordinate outfits for the future podcast?
Yes, that's when.
I thought you were supposed to do
I feel
military green.
I feel very left out over
Yeah,
here.
you should.
That's all right.
That's all right. I got like
I'm sporting the
I've got
sublets
a
over here.
sort of bluish gray
Yeah.
right in between you guys. I thought it was so awesome that the committee or whoever put such an experimental sounding act on the big stage like that late in the festival. For that showed progress to me.
Yeah,
yeah. And I was really impressed with what you guys did, like unlike anything I've ever heard.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'll
Beautiful
assume
music.
that's good. Unlike anything I've
And
ever heard.
I love Chris Coles.
Yeah.
I've known him. Known him is a weird term. We don't like know each other, but I've seen him play for like 20 years. It feels like.
Yeah.
Like I think he's our age, right? But still, seen him play since like Peabody's.
Yeah.
I think like when we were kids, and the instrument choice was really unique too, which I loved. And what was that guitar you played?
Oh, I had the weird looking thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have this. It's custom made. It's from this guy in New Mexico makes them, and for a while he was making guitars for Alan Holdsworth, fusion guy. So he's real big into the headless guitars. And this one, there was a brand of guitar a long time ago called Klein Guitars. There's Steve Klein, pretty famous guitar maker, but now he's I think doing all acoustic stuff, and he made those electric guitars, and like way back in the day, like Bill Frisell used one for a while, and so it's kind of based on the Klein body, and it's got that kind of shape, but it's all chambered. It's ergonomic. It's weighted, so it just sits like this, and it is really the most comfortable guitar I've ever played. It's just I had a Klein a long time ago, and I always thought it just felt great. I ended up getting rid of that, but when I saw this guy had a variation, and it's with it being chambered and everything, it weighs like 6 pounds, so it's just awesome. It's like The problem is like now I'm a wuss. If I have to play one of my other guitars, I'm like, it's so heavy. Like, but yeah, it's
Cool. Well, yeah, that was really inspiring to see that style of music out in front of that many people, like publicly, and in a festival. I've usually just seen rock, pop, soul, R&B acts. Like that was really
well.
nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, my goal. I'm not trying to like write to that situation, but I am trying to take what we do and make it a little more accessible to people. So my hope is like when we come on and play a set in that setting, it's not just like, what the hell is this? You know, it's kind of like, okay, this is weird and different, but it's got enough of a groove that I'm going to like sit and listen and check it out and stuff. So that's my goal, I guess.
It just happened in the kitchen there. Like we were just listening to some stuff earlier right before this podcast started. We were waiting for you to get here. Not that you came later.
He was 2 minutes late, dude. Don't let him off the hook.
Yeah, so we were listening, and at the beginning, it sounded very, like off the wall. And what is this? And we were discussing what we were going to talk about, and be like, oh, what's your favorite time signature? Like 4/4. And then it all came together. I'm like, I think this is in 4/4.
The first tune.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, like what we were joking about it, the way it starts, and then it pulled it in. And I was like, all right, this is. It could be a good. Gateway drug into that type of music for people that are from a rock 4/4 background.
Man, that's awesome to hear that, because that was how I got into jazz. Was like I was in a bunch of jam bands in the 90s and stuff like that, and I had some bandmates that were super into jazz, and they would always like play stuff for me, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I can't. It just sounds like they're noodling. I don't know what's going on. And it just never like connected with it. And then eventually they played me they played me some John McLaughlin, and they played me this guitarist, John Abercrombie. And they were much more like groove oriented, and the guitarists were like blazing distortion, so I just felt like, oh, this is like a killing player, and he's using tones that I use, and like I could kind of relate to it. So that was, and then getting into them, then you start realizing like, oh, they played with like Miles Davis, and that was kind of my entryway into it. And I have a ton of students. I mean, it's so rare for a guitarist to like start and be like, I'm gonna play jazz. That's why I picked up this instrument, So it's I try and do that with my students and stuff too. Like just, if they're kind of into it, I try and give them the more rock influenced fusion version of it, and then be like, if they get into that, then like lead them into whatever.
Cool. Yeah. Can you give us some examples of that rock infused for some of our listeners that might want to get into that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, off the top of my head, like Herbie Hancock is a huge one, because he's got. I mean, for him, it's more the funk stuff. But those like early funk albums that he did, like Mwandishi, all the synthesizers and all that stuff's great. Weather Report. John Abercrombie, the group I'm thinking of is actually called Gateway, and it was just a trio: bass, drums, guitar. What?
He said it was a gateway. Yeah.
Gateway, exactly, yeah. This album, Homecoming. And it's like, I think the one that hit me, I think it's mostly on just one chord. So I could understand it. It wasn't like trying to listen through all this stuff that felt like it was always changing, stuff like that. And then I'm trying to think of some other, Alan Holdsworth is another like monster. Yeah. Tim Miller is kind of like a modern version of Alan Holdsworth. He teaches at Berkeley now. He's a monster. And these are all guys that are like kind of using a lot of distortion and just, and Tim Miller and Alan Holdsworth have like they can just do the legato thing where you don't hardly ever see him pick. It's just like, woo! But that stuff. And then I've been actually really into like, with my students, I've been using, there's this guitarist, Sean Tubbs. You ever heard of that guy? Mm-mm. He's one of those guys, like now there's a whole bunch of people that are really well known just for like their YouTube demos and stuff. Yeah. He's like a dude that just demos pedals.
Okay.
And which that's got to be great, because then everybody just sends you all their stuff. But he's a killing player. So I just listen, I just transcribe what he plays. Well, I don't care about what he's demoing. And he's like coming out of a total blues rock thing. Like it's like pentatonic kind of bluesy stuff. But then he gets like just enough chromaticism in there that it's like really interesting and it's really cool. And I felt like a bunch of my students lately, if they're coming out of just like a straight rock bag like I was, where it's just like, your minor pentatonic scales and you can wail on them all day, like he seems to be he'll turn a light bulb on, because it's like he's playing what I play, but somehow it just sounds a lot cooler. Like, and he's just got this ornamentation to it that's really cool.
Do you know the name of his YouTube channel off the top of your head?
No, but I'm sure Sean Tubbs, TUBBS,
Okay,
would bring it up. I mean, I think it's pretty huge.
cool.
Cool.
And then like Danny Gatton,
Yeah.
he's like a country jazz guy, and that stuff's incredible.
Yeah.
He's got some quartet stuff with Buddy Emmons, where it's like guitar, pedal steel, bass, drums, and it's just awesome. Same kind of stuff where it's like very recognizable stuff, but he's just like brilliant at it.
Very cool.
Yeah. Do you have a YouTube channel? Anything that you?
I do. Yeah, it's like Dan Bruce Music.
Cool.
And it's just got a bunch
Is
of
it
stuff
your
from
music
this group.
or you in the camera showing technique or lessons?
I haven't done that yet. I'm kind of scared of that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
And
understandable.
I kind of feel like everybody's doing it now, and I feel like it's like a sea of them now, and a lot of them are kind of like, I don't know, like, so I'm not sure that I need to add to that. I don't know.
You said that you were playing in jam bands in the 90s. Have you still paid attention to that scene as it's grown or as it's evolved in this past decade or even in just the last 6 years? Because we've talked a lot about jam bands on this podcast and had a few on.
No, I haven't. Although, like, I occasionally have students that'll give me something, and I'm totally open to it. I just haven't like followed what's going on. Like, who are jam bands these days? What is it? What are some big
jam bands these
bands?
days? They incorporate a lot of electronica along with like just unique shredding guitars, and everyone has like their different tones too, and like new versions of funk, new versions of like ambient jazz, and new versions of like progressive rock.
Okay.
The funk stands out, and I'm a fan of funk, so
a lot of funk.
So,
in
yeah.
the
Well,
jam
what are some groups?
Dopa Pie is the first one that comes to mind for me.
Okay.
And that would be right up your alley.
Dopa Pie?
Dopa Pod.
Dopa Pod.
Dopa Pod.
Dopa Pod. Okay, I will check them out. No, it sounds cool.
We could go all day with that, but like that's the
Check out like our first 10 episodes.
yeah.
I've for me the thing I don't know about lately, but the last like 5 years I've gotten really excited about is like just the rock stuff that's just like taking a left turn, like Dirty Projectors and stuff like that. You know that group? And it's kind of electronic and it's kind of experimental, but then it's also like coming out of a pop rock thing. So it's really interesting. I just feel like there's some like pop rock stuff out there now that's incredible. And like Hiatus Coyote.
Oh yeah.
You know them?
I don't.
Well, they're really hard to put into words.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're I was about to try and put them into words. They're funky, like you, and they definitely are coming out of like R&B, but it's just a weird. It's like if Frank Zappa tried to do an R&B record with some wonderful like vocals on it.
Yeah,
like R&B kind of background vocals.
My sister and her boyfriend, they introduced me to that. And speaking of my sister, she's got this great meal prep company that sponsors this podcast called Unrefined.
Commercial time.
Nice.
They are a new 100% gluten and dairy-free meal prep service in Cleveland. And they'll deliver meals to your house within 35 miles of downtown, and they always use local vendors for their products and fresh food, never frozen. Unrefinedls.com gives you their whole menu, and you can get 20% off if you use the code CS20 on your first order.
All right.
All right.
Nice.
That was a nice segue there.
Back to the show.
Like a professional.
But
episode
but Ed, thank you very much for introducing me to Hiatus Coyote.
Yeah. I think they have a new one out. kind
Is
of
that so?
recently.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive back into
really.
that. That always sparks like little pieces of inspiration that like I didn't know were deep in my brain.
Yeah. Dirty Projectors is another one they're incredible. The album Bita Orca is a pretty good starter album because they have some other ones that are just way more out there. But it's cool.
So were you in bands like along the Fish sound?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I was in high school, and I don't know why my parents did this, but I had a job all through high school, and a lot of it went towards like college fund or whatever. But then they'd let me take some of that money and just do what I wanted with it for the summer. So me and a couple buddies would just buy tickets to Grateful Dead shows like around the Midwest or whatever, and we would just leave for like weeks and just be like following the Dead and whatever. And
That's some good parenting right there.
I know, yeah. I don't think I'd let my kids do that. But it was fun. And and then eventually Fish, and there's a bunch of other ones in there that I can't remember the names of, but that kind of stuff. And it was fun because like it got me. I mean, I was totally ear taught for the first 5 or 6 years, and eventually was taking lessons, but still didn't really know any theory or anything. It was just kind of like learning solos off Led Zeppelin albums and stuff like that. And I feel like Grateful Dead, and then especially Fish, was like just seeing it done on a pretty high level with improvisation being like such a focus that maybe pushed me a little bit towards jazz or just towards like improvised music. So it was cool. I mean, I'm glad I got into it. Because before that, I was into like all the hair bands and stuff, like all the glam rock bands. So I'm glad I got through that.
Everyone has to go through
Yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It wants big hair and pyrotechnics,
So you just released an album with this band, Beta Collective,
Yeah.
right? How many, did you use the same players for like all the tunes, or you use a wide net of players?
The core band is on most of it. And that's a septet, I guess. The three horns, keys, vibes, guitar, bass, drums is kind of like the main group. And then I want an album to have a lot of different textures and to kind of break down. And so there's a trio tune on there where I'm on nylon string guitar and Anthony's on percussion. It's just, and then acoustic bass. So that's like a totally different sound, but that's just kind of the trio of the rhythm section. And then there's a tune on there that is horns. It's the three horns, me, and Theron Brown's playing melodica on that one. And then there's no bass or drums. And I wrote the horns to kind of have like this ostinato pattern that's kind of keeping the rhythm going, and then we're kind of playing over it. And then at the end, I wail on it with like all this distortion and a ring modulator and stuff just to make it really weird. But the rest of the tunes are pretty much the full band, and then a couple of them are the ones that have like synth on them or some like kind of programming in Ableton Live that I layered on top.
Cool. Any vocal?
No, not on this one. I mean, the vocoder, but that's it. I have been arranging stuff for vocalists, so our last couple shows have had at least a couple tunes for vocals, and that might be kind of the next thing we're doing. I've just been kind of excited about that. I got real excited, I don't know, a year or two ago. I've always liked taking tunes that I really like and then kind of destroying them, like just redoing them, and either the way I hear them or just sometimes I like if the tune's got a really obvious emotional state that it's projecting. Sometimes I like to try and reharmonize the music to the opposite.
Okay.
Just to kind of be weird and just be like, so you're singing this sad song, but the music's just like, what's up, or vice versa, or just try and make things kind of strange. Or so.
Is that one of the ways composition starts for you?
No, I guess I don't think of that as not really. I think that's more like arranging. Like I hear music that already exists and think like, oh, it'd be fun to do this and this to that, or you know. So I've been kind of trying to, and I've been trying to take the sound of this band and kind of collaborate with other people locally. So like for a minute there's this vocalist in town, Emily Keener, kind of like singer-songwriter. And it was COVID, so it was all like remote, but she let me take one of her tunes and I just kind of redid it. And I had the three horns do almost like this New Orleans thing in the beginning where it was just real kind of busy horns and she sang over it and then the whole band comes in and it still kind of kept her tune but put some layers on top of it. And I loved that. And I was like, man, I'd love to like do this. I'd love to just, it was kind of like me forcing myself onto somebody and being like, I want to be your arranger. Like, I like your music. Let me arrange it. Let me just mess with it. So there's this vocalist in town that's a jazz vocalist, Celine Iris. And I just asked her, like, what are some tunes you like to sing? And she named a couple Beatles tunes. She named a Cream tune, you know that band, that old Eric Clapton band, Strange Brew, and a couple other things. Yeah. So I arranged some of those, and I just did it like Strange Brew ended up being like a double time drum and bass with this really low like distorted Moog synth bass on it, which is like awesome. And then she's singing in halftime over it. So it gets like pretty far away from the original tune, but all the lyrics are there, and I had her sing it just like it was. So I like the idea of just like, and now there's this vocalist Alyssa Boyd that I think we're going to be working with, and same thing. I just ask like, what do you like to sing, in what key, and then so the singer can kind of do what they've always done. I try and keep them just like comfortable. But then I just do all this weird stuff around it and before it and after it and try and
that sounds like a blast.
Make it something new. It is fun. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We did a jazz standard with Celine, but I did it like kind of like Afro pop high life, and it was awesome. It was really cool, and I got to do, and I don't necessarily know what I'm doing with that stuff, but I got to like get this really twangy guitar tone and just kind of like and just kind of
That sounds like a blast to me. Like,
yeah,
completely reimagining things, but keeping it comfortable for the vocalist.
Yeah,
yeah. And it's almost like I think of it as like a scene where you we're in the action movie where there's the explosion, the person's walking away, like nothing happened. That's the singer, and the music is just this explosion of This is what I think.
Totally, yeah. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about. Like I want to connect with people, and I don't want people to have to work so hard. Like I'm almost trying to figure out something to call my band that's not jazz, because I feel like people get kind of scared about jazz, or there's like, I don't understand that, and I go to some club and I don't understand, and then I'm supposed to be quiet and all this stuff. And it's got all this built up stuff that a lot of that's not really true, but I can understand it, Yeah. And I think it's just hard to make it accessible. And I think if I'm taking what we do and then putting it into a Beatles tune or something, it's like already it's definitely recognizable.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and make it, especially something like the Beatles. Like I feel like you can't mess with their songs that much. It's almost like sacrilege, because it's like they're already so good. So there's enough there that I think an audience is going to recognize that. My hope is like then we can sneak in a whole bunch of weird stuff at the end.
They get their security blanket there.
Yeah, exactly.
Go into the spooky spot.
I'm trying to learn how to give them enough that it's like they're not having to work too hard to get it, but then I can still sneak in enough of what I want to do, I guess. Yeah. And that's kind of, I don't know. I think that's my goal.
That's very cool. I like that because like I come from rock, playing 4/4 constantly. Yeah, Led Zeppelin. The hair bands, Motley Crue, I'm like, I want a drum set that goes upside down. I want to build one in a hamster ball, and they're going to roll me into the crowd. But, so, hearing jazz, I'm like, it's like you're just learning math and you walk into a calculus class, you know? I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? I'm out, there's letters written on the board, this isn't math. But, your stuff is very easily approachable. yet you can totally tell the technique that's going into that is fantastic, and yeah, totally appreciate it as a player, and still feel comfortable there.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I have a number of friends that are like good enough friends that I force them to come to a lot of shows, but they're not like, they wouldn't be going to these shows unless I was like forcing them to go. And one of them afterwards, this was a while ago. This was before this music was written, this latest album, and he just kind of said like, "I love your energy," and he's really into music, but it's like punk rock and stuff. But he's like, "I love the energy. I like enjoy watching you guys play, but I just don't like. There's nothing to latch onto. I can't." And he's like, and after a while, it's hard to keep focused on it because it's just kind of like, okay, there's just stuff, and I'm not involved, and that kind of hit me, and I was like, trying to think like the stuff I wrote for this album, I tried to make it so that if the stuff that's happening up top, like with melody and chords and stuff, is really complex, I tried to make the rhythm stuff really easy to grab onto, and then vice versa. I tried to always have some kind of like, here's something that's like. And not to say, I don't think I'm dumbing it down or anything. I think I'm actually learning more as a composer. Like, if all of it's complicated, like, two people in the room are going to enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
But if you learn how to, like, if any one thing's going on that might really, like, challenge people, but there's something else there that's just like, here's this beat, and you can hear this.
Yeah.
Or here's this really relatively simple melody that you can hang on to, and it's going to help you navigate all this crazy stuff that's underneath. Like, I feel like that's super helpful. And
Absolutely.
I think that's, I mean, again, I'm not trying to dumb it down. And part of what I love about jazz and what I love about a lot of the music I listen to is I want stuff that challenges me and challenges people. And sometimes I get annoyed. Like, some of the music that annoys me, it just doesn't, there's no challenge in it. I don't have to think about it. And I get really annoyed, like pop music or whatever. Like, that's what annoys me. But it can be, I'm not like against that style. Like, there was like that album that Madonna did when, like, I think it was like Will Orbitz was doing all the production. And some of the stuff he was doing behind her was incredible. And I was like, man, this is, but it's like, I just need something that's going to make me have to grow a little by experiencing it, I guess.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, I like that. Cool. Well, let's step away from music for a little bit.
Sure.
Cool. So you're from Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then you made your way to Bowling Green, Texas. What else do you like to do besides music? You said you're married. Do you have any kids?
I got 3 kids.
Great.
Yeah, twins, and 7-year-old twins and a 12-year-old.
Where you guys live?
We're in Lakewood right now.
Lakewood.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool. They're great. The kids are great.
They like music?
They do. I'm kind of trying to not be the musician dad that's just like, you're all going to do music all the time. Mm-hmm. But I also try and make sure it's there enough that they're just kind of into it. And they definitely listen to a ton of music with me and on their own. And there's a piano in the house, and they all play it and bang on it. And the oldest has been doing piano lessons, and then he got into trumpet, which I was kind of proud because it wasn't, I don't think, because of me at all. Like, I didn't even say anything. It's weird. Middle school to me is so weird because they just said, like, pick your instrument. And he was just like, trumpet. And then I was like, you don't want him to take lessons or something? Like, God bless these people that are walking into a room of like 30 trumpet players that have never played the instrument before. It's like, God, that sounds horrifying. But he's
That's
doing
how
well.
jazz was born, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's into it, so it's cool. He's going for it, and I don't think I need them to like do music on any real level, but I do want them to be people that like love music and understand like what it's for and what it can do, even if they never play anything or.
Cool.
Yeah.
What other hobbies you got? Are there things you and your family do?
No, none. I'm kidding. I don't know. I make everybody go on hikes all the time, just to get into the woods and kind of get away from life and screens and all that crap.
Let's see what's close to Lakewood. Rocky River Reservation.
Yeah, Rocky River. I mean, really kind of right by us is some of the, the metro parks are kind of right there. It's pretty easy to get down in there. And I'll drive them. I mean, actually, like coming down here, I'll drive them down to like the, valley and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff around here.
Yeah. We've been, this winter, the last 2 winters, I've been snowboarding with my 12-year-old, which has been awesome.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. But I feel like I'm kind of old for snowboarding, like, because it hurts like hell. Like, I mean, I did it like years ago, but I just was like, oh, I'll try it again because he's learning, and it's like, man, it hurts.
Yeah, I was 32 last time I did it, and I remember when I fell on my back and then my arm and then my front leg. I think I felt that for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, no more of that.
I'm terrified of that, man. I'm terrified of that.
So I had somebody that told me you got to learn how to fall. Maybe that's a thing. So maybe I'll try and keep doing it, or maybe I'll just, I don't know.
I went skydiving once, and they taught us like this parachute fall you're supposed to do. It does not apply to snowboard.
Now, when they say parachute fall, is that just like how to fall out of the plane? Or is that like
No.
if your parachute doesn't open?
If your parachute doesn't open, then you're on your own.
Yeah, okay.
I'd probably just go head down and be like, all right, let's just make this quick.
For beginner like skydiving or before you like literally learn to run and like hit the ground, that you have to when you land, you have to like let your legs go limp a little bit, and just like as you're falling, and let your weight just kind of fall over like a bowling pin, or else you'll sprain an ankle or something.
Yeah,
you just try to land.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We teach you judo. They teach you how to fall correctly. And you disperse your weight all the way across while you're doing your practice falls.
Cool.
All that fun stuff.
Let's take a second
Okay.
and thank Chuck Kaminsky.
Who's that?
Chuck Kaminsky is the wonderful human being that owns a company called Basement Trader.
Oh, I've heard of them. It's in Painesville, right?
That's right.
That's right, on Chestnut Street.
BASSMENT.
TRADER.
I'll spell it all.
Yeah, why not? Let's throw a lot of letters out there. That's what people want to hear while they're driving.
The BASS.
Wheel of Fortune while we're at it.
So Chuck can hook you up with some new, used, and vintage gear, and he's got cool guitars, basses, other oddities.
He just posted a 75 P bass that's been modded a bit, where they gave it a like a bridge position pickup on it at some point. Looks like during the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So he just posted that. I saw it this morning.
I missed that one.
Yeah, it's on there right now. I think it's like $2,500, which I was like, ooh, that's a chunk of change. But then I looked and like, because nothing makes sense anymore. Like, like if it didn't have that pickup, it'd be like $7,000.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so I can get an extra pickup for $5,000 off. That sounds good.
BasementTrader.com. Also check out his reverb shop. That's just /basementtrader. And
he actually has 2 shops on there, I found out.
Oh.
One of them is all the
news.
guitars, and one of them is the Basement Trader like accessories page where he has his amplifiers and accessories. I don't know why he has it that way, but he has it that way. So check out Basement Trader
maybe
twice.
he's growing. Yeah.
Maybe he is.
Let's give a shout out to Jones Drones.
The hero.
The hero. When he's not drowning people out of the water, he is providing commercial drone services focused on creative solutions, drone photography, drone racing, lessons, repairs. He is insured, examined, licensed drone pilot, and he can get you your wedding, your event, anything. Or if your city is hosting an all-star game, he can get you some good commercial footage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Listen CLE, let's throw them in here too.
Let's do it here.
Because they are very cool people. So Listen CLE, they have, what is it, 9 mood bass?
9 mood.
Mood bass.
Sorry, that's the truth coming out.
Yeah.
The beer, not the real truth.
Not the real truth? All right. So they've got 9 mood-based playlists. We're just stumbling all over words today. Good thing we don't talk for,
We've got a great guest. We're nervous.
We are. So, the playlist that they have: What is Love, Groove, Energy Boost, Chill, Feel Good. I'm not reading these off the back of the card at all. Misery Loves Company, Rock Out, Night Driving, And can you name the last one?
The acoustic cuts.
You're right, and he couldn't even see the cheat sheet. We've had to pull this card out of so many guests' hands because we're like, we need that one.
We need that one.
We need that one. They also have a nice artist database that they have started for artists to post themselves on there, give their info, and share it out there with venues and events that are looking to hire local musicians.
That's right. You can go to their website, listencle.com, and they'll self-guide you through the process of getting yourself in that database, and it can act as your EPK and just photos, links to everything that you do. And
some hardworking people that are really looking out for the Cleveland music scene.
Yeah, check out Cuyahoga Sound Podcast episode 9 for the full interview.
Wow, you got that memorized, huh? 9 for the 9 mood-based podcast or playlist?
Yeah, I'm 90% sure that it's episode 9.
99%?
No, I'm not that sure.
All right. Perfect. All right. Is commercial time over?
Yeah, back to your regularly scheduled program.
What are we going to do now?
Is this mine?
That's your
Yeah,
one.
go for it.
Thank you.
Do you need another beer?
I'm okay right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it over there.
We've got
keep a
Dan
secret.
Bruce, jazz guitarist, composer, arranger, teacher.
And all around good dude.
True.
Cool. So besides students, for guitar, is there any other instruments you dabble with for performance?
Not really. No. I mean, I can compose on piano, but I can't really play it in real time very well. And then no, just guitar.
Same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had piano lessons first, like age 6 to
Me too.
12 or something, and then picked up guitar. And so when I have a piano, same. And just when I sit down on it, it's just the skeleton of songs,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I had the cliche piano teacher. She was like super mean old lady, scary as hell.
With a yardstick.
Yeah. I don't think she ever really hit me, but she scared the shit out of me. It was just like, okay, you know. And so I did it for a number of years. And then at one point, my mom was like, if you want to quit, you can quit. And I was like, okay, I quit. And it's that same thing with everybody. Like, I wish I hadn't quit, but, you know.
So
whatever.
do you use the piano? You were talking about coming up with horn parts earlier. Is that where you structure these horn parts?
A lot of
from
times,
piano?
yeah. I'll do piano. Sometimes guitar. I'm still learning. I feel like guitar is too forgiving. Like, there's so many little 3-note voicings on guitar that sound really good that sound terrible when 3 horns play them. Yeah. And I feel like piano is a little closer to, like, if it sounds good on piano, it's more likely it'll sound okay on horns. Whereas guitar, I think, can get away with a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why, really, but that's just something I've learned.
Cool. That's good info. Never
Yeah.
thought of it like that.
I mean, I'm still very much like my band. They're very cool because I write a bunch of new stuff and then we'll get together. And half the time the first time of trying stuff is still me figuring out what I like or not. So I'm just kind of tearing it apart as we're playing it. So I'm very jealous of those composers that just show up and give you the music and it sounds good. It's like, it's never, I think I get closer, but it's usually not what I want when we first play it. And it's like, because I don't have the horns there when I'm writing it, I'm kind of guesstimating, and then it usually takes a number of run-throughs to kind of figure out exactly what I want.
You run that through Ableton to hear how it sounds?
I do. I mean, I use Finale and some other programs, and they have some kind of playback. It's not great, but it's enough, but it's always different live. So I don't know. There's always stuff.
Finale is the software that it has the music staffs on it, right?
Yeah, it's like notation. It's mostly for notation.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't seen or heard of that since Kent State Music
Since
College.
college, yeah, that's kind of like where you learn it, and yeah,
That's the last time I've had to read music. You know, the one time I ever arranged was for just a string quartet, and then went back and layered bass, clarinet, and oboe over it. So it was like 6 parts, and that was for it was just under an acoustic guitar that was finger picking for one part on the album where the story was transitioning to like the next chapter, and that was the last time I ever used Finale or any like notation or had to read music and for a job, you know. And now it's just sometimes I'll open a book and just like run through it, and it's been a year, and I'm sure my sight reading will not be up to what it should be, and then you go out into the industry to like do jobs, and like where I am, I'm not ever having to read music, and so what did I do all that learning for?
Yeah. It's weird, and especially on guitar, it's rare that I read. So it's just like, it's not very often. I'm, the music I write, I'm reading it until I have it memorized or whatever, and other people's original music. But your average gig, I either know the tunes or it's not like I'm not playing melodies, so I'm not having to like read. I'm just reading chords,
Right.
But kind of what I tell my students is, depending on what you want to do, I just, the funny thing to me is the times that I have to read, it's like they only want a guitarist to read when you're going to be on the spot. So it's like you can't get away with it. So it's like I practice it all year for that time that they're going to be like, Joe, so-and-so is coming in with the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra, and you have this big like highlighted thing that's just you, and it's like, oh God, like, so that's what I try to use that to scare my students. Because really, I think the only time they make guitarists read is when they're like they're soloing, and it's like this huge thing, and then it's like, don't mess up.
Is that always on nylon string?
What
the reading with the orchestra?
No, that's the jazz orchestra. That's usually electric guitar. That's usually, but they had Maria Schneider come earlier this year. She's like a pretty modern jazz big band composer, and it's awesome. It's fun because she's one of those where like it's jazz big band, but I get to bring all my effects, and she wants all of them, and I'm just like wailing on top of stuff, and it's so cool to like play distorted solos over a big band.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah. But same thing, like you're kind of on the spot with some of that, and some of it's kind of hard to read and whatever. But a lot of times, in those situations, you don't get the music too much in advance, so it's just like, yeah.
So you don't get a lot of time to prepare.
Yeah. So that's why I try and keep my reading up. Basically that, because it's just like I don't want to look like an idiot. So it's
cool.
But like other than that, yeah, it's the same thing. It's
what
like,
venues are those shows at?
The Cleveland Jazz Orchestra has been doing stuff at the Maltz Center. It's like in University Circle, just like a big performance space, kind of almost like a cathedral type space. And then they'll do stuff at some of the jazz clubs like Blue Jazz or the Bop Stop, sometimes at the Beachland.
Cool.
Yeah.
We love the Bop Stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw Gabe was on here.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gabe.
That dude is a hard worker, man.
Yeah, I don't know if he found somebody, but I saw he recently posted a job opening for like his basically assistant.
Yeah, like assistant manager. Yeah. Which he needs.
Maybe somebody saw the podcast and saw the stuff that guy was doing, man.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get back into gear?
They're awesome.
I do.
There's been, I know we talked about your guitar, but there's been a lot of posts. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a lot of talk about, he's going to all these festivals and everything, and everybody is Fender. You're seeing Fender everything, and Gibson, out of like the two major electric brands, Gibson is kind of falling behind. You guys seeing that?
Falling behind Fender?
Yeah, as far as prominent, I don't know about prominent bands, but seeing bands at these festivals and everything, there's a lot of Fender gear out there.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
not
both fall
much of
behind
the
the
Gibson.
PRS.
Yeah?
Personally, yeah.
All right,
I could see that.
what would you attribute
Well,
that
I'm
to?
not saying
Are you a
falling
PRS
behind
person?
PRS.
Is that why you're saying?
Well, recently I switched from Fender to PRS.
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
Well, I still use them both, but I went from PRS to Strat, and now I'm back on PRS. Still have the Strat behind that. So, but I did that because I'm easily influenced by the bands I look up to, and I'm seeing a lot of the Paul Reed Smith.
Yeah.
In the guitarists I look up.
Is it that Silver Sky model?
No, mine is the semi-hollow, like with the half moon on it.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those are amazing guitars. Yeah.
But you see a lot more Fender.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I'm on YouTube constantly. Like that's my hangout at night. I just hang out and cool down watching YouTube all night. And it's mostly music channels and everything, and a lot of conversation. Casino Guitars just put out a recent little episode. If you check them out, they're pretty cool.
Okay.
Guitar store. And it was about going to a lot of these festivals, and you would see 9 out of every 10 guitars out there, and amps as well, Fender. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm coming as a drummer, so drummers are playing like whatever they got back there, you know? Like,
Yeah.
But you put a lot of care into putting your drums together. But
I do, but you know, like I'll play. They can put a turd out there. I'll
Yeah.
play it.
If
I got
you
some
don't have to
sticks, I'm
carry
good.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you're saying
Exactly.
like guitars, like what the bands are bringing,
Yeah,
and
not
amps.
not just backline.
yeah, and some amps. Yeah, the guitars that the people are bringing, seeing a lot of Fender stuff compared to Gibson.
Yeah.
And yeah, the backline as well, or not the backline, the amps as well.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of Fender amps coming out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say to that necessarily, except like, I mean, I feel like the Strat and the Telecaster are such like workhorses in terms of like just the model,
Yeah.
and it's hard to like. I don't know what Gibson has. I mean, 335 kind of, but what Les Paul? I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, the Les Paul is like every Les Paul I tried was so heavy. I was like, I'm never gonna play this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
think
mean, they sounded great, but they were like 50 pounds.
Yeah, they reserved like their lightest. I remember seeing a chart from like the Gibson custom shop, like on the wall, where they were weighing the mahogany blanks for the bodies, and they had a chart where if it's under this weight, it's automatically going to be a 59 model, the 59 reissue. If it's between this and this, it's going to be a 58 reissue, and then a 60 reissue, and then like custom. You know, the Les Paul customs are in this other weight class.
I saw a chart where it was that when they were weighing certain things, and one was like planet Earth, the sun, the measure of a black hole's gravity, and then there was heavier than that, the 1970s custom
I
Les
saw
Paul.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right.
saw
I think
that.
all those 70s guitars. I remember Chuck had Chuck Kaminsky from Basement Trader. It was a 70s Strat, and I remember I picked it up and like I was not ready for the weight that was on this thing. It was like 12 pounds or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that like the world I'm in, I just seek out vintage stuff. So I'm not up on like the new. I bought maybe a couple of years ago. Yeah, actually, because I bought it like 2 months before the pandemic, and I was like, if I knew this was coming, I wouldn't have bought a new guitar right now. But I got a Gibson 175, like the old hollow body.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it's like a 65, I think. Like that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm maybe a different type of person than what you're talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of those vintage guitars are lighter weight too. That
They
old
are.
growth wood is just really light.
And they didn't used to put all, I guess the lacquer used to be a lot more thin.
yeah.
So they didn't put all the stuff on it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty light. And then I have a 66 335. So my stuff's Gibson or the weird custom, which is kind of the main thing I play. But then I have a Strat that's just kind of my beater guitar.
Yeah.
I love, my brother has a Paul Reed Smith. I love Paul Reed Smiths. And I have a new amp, but it's essentially a remake of a Fender Deluxe.
Is it the silver, like the 68 reissue, or like the 65 type blackface or silver?
It's a blackface.
Okay.
It's a blackface type.
Yeah, I think those are the 65 reissue.
Yeah.
According to their.
Yeah, but it's like some boutique version of
Oh,
it.
okay,
You know,
yeah.
some guy did it, and it's awesome. It's the best amp I've ever owned. For a while I had a '60s Vibrolux. So I guess I haven't really dealt in like new gear.
Vintage gear's fantastic.
Yeah,
And
I'm like a tube person and
Yeah.
like analog effects.
And the amps, you start to, at least I start to question, like as I get into it, because I'm like, this just sounds so fantastic. Whether it's because the speaker has been played for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
is it the amp or is it the speaker? You
Yeah.
know?
Sometimes, I mean, I'm making this up, but I feel like some of the digital stuff, it's like too perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes the things that are a little wrong are what make the things sound wonderful.
Yeah, it's got character to it.
Yeah.
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 The imperfections make it perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your pedals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big drink of water first.
Here we go. I'm very excited because I've had kind of the same layout for like 2 or 3 years now, which is incredible. Because for a while I was just spending all this money, and that black hole of. So I have a delay pedal that I think is the best delay pedal in the world that I got 20 years ago. It's a Maxon, like that Japanese company that became Ibanez, I think. I mean, I think they're still around, but it's kind of like Ibanez pedals grew out of Maxon. And when I bought it, they announced that they had just run out of the chips and the copper wiring or something. So that was the last year they were making them. So of course the price like jumped way up, but that was like 2000. So, and the thing's still going strong, and it's like it's amazing. It's analog delay. And then I have, a whole bunch of Overdrive because I just am kind of a freak about Overdrive. I have what do I have? I have a Mad Professor, I think it's called Sweet Honey Overdrive. And it's very much like it's a really transparent, like kind of low gain. It can get there, but I use it like, it's like the kind of thing where you could do kind of like rhythm guitar, kind of grunge, where it's obviously overdriven, but it's not saturated. You can still hear the strings and the guitar. Mm-hmm. So it's that kind of thing. It's nice. And then I have a Gladio pedal that's those Dumble amps, those Dumble amplifiers from like maybe the 70s.
Yeah.
They're like they're like this mythical amp because supposedly if you overdrove that amp, it was like the best overdrive sound ever. And there's some people, I think like John Mayer had one for a while, and he sold it a few years ago for like $50,000 or something,
crazy
something
money.
stupid,
Yeah.
like because they haven't existed for a long time, or haven't been made for a long time, and they're like this legendary thing, kind of like the Klein distortion pedal or something. So this pedal just came out a few years ago, and it's supposed to mimic that, and I feel like they nailed it. It's really incredible, and that's more like a what would I say, like kind of a Larry Carlton. Trying to think of a player. It's saturated, but it's still very warm and not gritty. Like you almost wouldn't know it's overdriven except
Like until it's not there.
It's got that feel. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not like rock overdrive. It's like I don't mean to, like, it's very smooth. It's very warm. I can't think of a player right now, which is too bad. But that's been kind of my favorite. And then I have a Katzenkoenig, I think is like a German company, and it's called Catlin-Bread, and it's a rat chip, like the old rat pedals, mixed with a fuzz pedal chip. And it's incredible. And it's almost hard to control. Like it's over the top like the second you play. And it's just meant for that. Like it's just the screeching, the noise floor is super high, it's super buzzy. It's like a rat on steroids, like just all the way up. So but it's sounds really good. So I just kind of, those are like my 3 layers, I guess. And I'll mostly use the Gladio, and then I'll use the honey, Sweet Honey, as kind of a little bit of a boost to the Gladio. It just gives a little more like body and a little more distortion. And then if I stack on the other one, it's just kind of like ridiculous, And I like having those options there. And then I have an Earthquaker Dispatch Master in there somewhere that's just kind of reverb and delay. Because I feel like every time I add more overdrive, it's drying up my signal. So I just wanted like another reverb delay just in the loop with the overdrives. And I feel like that's been really helpful.
Yeah. Check out our last episode before this one for a couple minute longer description of that pedal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, they're phenomenal. They're doing great stuff. Is that it? Oh, a compression, like a Wampler compression pedal. Again, mostly for the overdrive. And then a volume pedal. And then I have this Quartermaster, basically like a signal router, which has been wonderful because for a long time I had all these pedals and I would try and stack them by hitting all of them. And this is like, I've been able to run a few different loops so I can have like, I can be clean and I can have just the max on delay on. And then if I hit one more button on the Quartermaster, I'm including one of the overdrives, the dispatch master, and the compression all onto that. And then I can add the other overdrives as I want them. And then I have one more thing that I'll run a ring modulator into. And I've been having fun kind of mixing ring modulator in with the distortion. And that's the weird stuff in the first track of that album is a lot of like, you'll hear distortion and then suddenly it feels like a robot kind of takes over or something. That's just me messing with the ring modulator with distortion.
Cool.
Well, where can we catch a performance of you this summer? What's your schedule look like? Pretty busy?
I'm busy with a bunch of other people's groups. So I'm doing stuff with a bunch of other people. I'm leaving tomorrow for Maryland to play with this Stephen Harvey guy that has like an octet.
Oh, from Family Feud?
Not Steve Harvey.
Survey says
Stephen Philip Harvey. Yeah. I think that's why he puts his middle name in everything.
Yeah.
But and then a bunch of bands. My band is going to be, this band will be at the Rubber City Jazz Festival, which is going to be September. So that's like early September. Other than that, we don't have much on the books. I kind of put it all into the release, and then I'm kind of like, I'm just going to practice for a while.
This can be in Akron?
Yeah, that's Akron.
Where is that festival going to be held?
They usually do a bunch of spots right downtown. Like there's like Blue Jazz, and they'll do stuff around there. Musica, the library, sometimes in the band shell over by Lock 3 or whatever they call it, Lock 15.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over. I believe this year it's going to be September 8th through 10th.
Great.
I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
And one more question: are you taking on new students?
I am. Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I'm mostly right now. I either teach out of my home or I'm kind of building up CSU right now, Cleveland State. I started there last year, and we've just been kind of growing that program.
Oh, cool. Any other universities you've worked with?
I'm at Tri-C still. I was at Kent State this year. I'm probably just sticking to Tri-C and CSU for the time being, just to kind of, I'm still trying to figure out.
Closer to home.
Closer to home. And the pandemic was funny because enrollment at all the schools went way down, which I understand. Like if I was a music major, I don't think I'd want to do it over Zoom. But then this last semester.
Yeah, I tried taking some lessons, actually from the guitarist from that band I told you about, Dopapine. It was not the same. Like I couldn't keep up with. I mean, I could keep up. It couldn't hold my attention. Besides, like somebody being right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's 100% not the same.
Yeah.
Lessons over Zoom.
Yeah, it's hard. And you know, in colleges, we're trying to have like ensembles meet over Zoom and stuff. So it's like, you know, what are you doing? You know. So I understand all that, but
Can you imagine like having a band rehearsal?
it'd be awful, man. That would be awful.
Yeah. It ended up being just kind of like improv class. We would just talk about concepts and things we could all practice and stuff. But then this last semester, enrollment kind of took off, so I just ended up kind of busier than I wanted to be. Because playing is kind of taken off, which is wonderful.
Nice.
So like that's been great.
That's my favorite part of it. Performance.
Yeah. I mean that's why you do it. So that's been fun.
Cool.
So yeah.
Did you have any other questions for him?
Not the music stuff. Well,
I've got one more.
All right.
Like before we wrap up,
Yeah.
there, I am interested in your approach to composition because it's a unique perspective we never get to talk about on this podcast.
I think.
Tell us your secrets.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm practicing, I've gotten in the habit, if I'm practicing things, I'll have a notepad there that if I stumble on something melodically that I like, I just write it down and then I just let it go. So then I end up with these notepads full of things. And then I'll also have time where I just try to come up with stuff. And it usually just starts with melody or some little groove thing or like a vamp or something that I just think is cool. And then I just figure out how I can develop it. And I think the more experience I have, the better I get at developing it. And I try to think of a mood. I think I try to think of a mood and a texture pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of, I mean, that's vague, but I think it kind of steers what I'm doing, you know? So like the first track on the album, the title track, Time to Mind the Mystics, is really supposed to be like over the top, just like excited. And I mean, whereas the album is kind of my thought experiment on like us living with technology and what's good and bad about that. That track is supposed to be what's good about it. And it is like kind of this celebration of life, and technology is there. Like the ring modulator's there. There's a lot of stuff. The synths are in there. But it's also like I wanted that tune just to be kind of like, ah. So like everything I wrote was Anthony Tadeo, the drummer, I got together with him and I was like, I want you just to play like a very recognizable, like driving rock beat, like But then I took he has a bunch of percussion stuff at his house, and I took a whole bunch of percussion stuff and put it all over his snare and his tom, so that it's got that weird, like he's playing that thing, but he's hitting different things. So it's like so it's like this goofy.
You get these weird textures.
Yeah, and it's like just that straight feel that every drummer knows.
Yeah.
But it's got this kind of something's off about it, and I just wanted it to feel like you're just like excited and like you're running towards something, and you're just like and then with the synth doing like the low bass stuff. So I kind of come up with an outline that's almost just that. Like we're going to play some weird stuff, and then drums are going to come in with this driving groove, and then eventually we are going to come in with stuff I've written. But at first it's just a sketch outline, and I'm just like, horns hold this thing, and maybe guitar and something will play a melody over it, and there's going to be some low, like distorted Moog synthesized bass stuff. And then if I come up with a melody I like with that song, there was this melody I liked enough that I was like, I'm just going to repeat this a whole bunch of times. And so my outline just said repeated melody, and I had that melody down, but then I just figure out like, well, if I'm repeating the melody, something else has to change. So then I had to figure out what harmony that melody could fit over. And so then I come up with a whole bunch of different chord progressions that I think sound good that keep changing. So there's like 4 times through this melody, and every 8 or 16 bars, it's a totally new chord progression. But the thing that's holding it together is this just repeated melody over the same groove. So it's like my hope is I'm trying to have stuff there that I would think the average listener doesn't know it's happening, but they're also hopefully not getting bored, because it's not, while the melody is the same, it's not really the same there. And then, in my outline after that, it'll be like, need to change the texture here. And there'll be like, weeks where I don't know what that is, but it's like something has to go there that's different, so then I'll, and that's kind of, and I kind of hit them in pieces. So I'll just kind of, because I've learned if I force it and try and finish it, it sucks. Like I end up not liking it because I just like tried to make it happen. But if I just do pieces and let it go for a while and then come back to it, or I'll be practicing and I'll play something and I'll be like, oh, this could be part of that new part of the new texture. And then it's like, then it kind of organically comes together. And that's what I try to do. I don't know if that's answers the question.
Great.
And then it's, other than that, it's just like the guys in my band are awesome. So it's easy to write for them and be like, they'll do this. I know this will sound good. So I can just kind of like go for that.
Is there a easy, because we're running out of time, is there an easy or quick answer to when to know to change keys or time signatures?
Time signatures, I think, shouldn't. I think especially odd time signatures should not be forced. I think it should be a red flag if you're trying to write something in 7 or 5. I think what happens is you hum something to yourself, and then you start to like work out what it is, and then you realize like, oh, this is in 7. And that's when you're on the right track, because the thing you hummed was cool and catchy, and then you know it's going to work. You're not trying to force it into something just to be complicated.
So what about when there's just like one instance, like either between sections or in the middle of a section where there's the extra note or something? You just have that one instance of the X of a different signature in just the one measure or two.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that. I think like I'm a big fan of like the hiccup. You know, like I think what you're saying, like there's a groove and you're just like, and then every once in a while it's just kind of like, and then you're back into it and you're just kind of like, and I like that because it kind of keeps, you know, and on the album there's a tune.
The hiccup. All right,
I
like that.
To me, that's what it is. There's a tune on the album called The Walk, and it's essentially in 4, 8, 12. It's in 15, I guess. But it's like 3 bars of 4, and it's a funk tune. It's like, but then, and there's just like a bar of 3. And it just becomes and it feels like you're just dropping a beat but it's over. But then I wrote an ostinato that melodically makes that make sense. And that's where the tune started. I just came up with this ostinato, and I was like, wait, it's not in 4/4. So again, like, so I knew it was okay because I wasn't forcing it, and it just kind of worked. But I like that, and that stays through a lot of that tune.
Cool. Great answer.
The hiccup. Yeah. Can I plug the album real quick before?
Yeah.
So it's on Shifting Paradigm Records, and they have a Bandcamp. You can do Shifting Paradigm, or you can do Time to Mind the Mystics. The album's called Time to Mind the Mystics at Bandcamp. It's on vinyl, CD, digital download. The thing with vinyl, because the world we're living in right now, the vinyl's delayed because of the all the shipping and craziness of the world. The other hilarious thing is we had one remaining lacquer plating manufacturer in the United States, like for that part of making vinyl, and in 2020 they burnt down.
Oh.
So like getting vinyl is crazy now. So if you buy the vinyl on the Bandcamp or from me at a show, you get the digital download right then. So you get the album right then, and then the vinyl is supposed to be here in August, and we ship it out in August.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then, you know, we're going to be doing a fall tour in support of the album, and so we'll be around.
All right.
Bugging people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe
Looking
we'll be
forward
in
to it.
Rome. I'll see you in Rome.
Yeah. I'll give you a place to stay. I don't have room for the whole band, but you're good.
Wait, what are you talking about, Rome?
Oh yeah, for the listeners here, the Cuyahoga Sound podcast.
Did I bring that up? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's all right. Cuyahoga Sound podcast is going to be a little bit different looking here.
Yeah, in about 4 or 5 episodes, maybe.
Something
Less
like
than
that. Received kind of an opportunity from throwing it out into the universe that Rome is my favorite city besides Cleveland to live in. And wife got a new job there, and I will be moving to Rome, Italy. That's pretty freaking crazy to say.
Wow.
So
how's it feel to say out loud?
Pretty freaking crazy.
So, Chuck, what's that mean for Cuyahoga Sound Podcast?
Oh, it shall continue here.
It shall continue.
It shall continue. With the same gear brought to you from Chuck Kaminsky, the same sponsors, and your same host out front there.
Yeah, I'll still be here.
Yeah, he's going to...
So,
Is there going to be like subtitles?
I'll have to get some, yeah.
so you can understand the
So
words
check
I'm
me out
saying.
at the Tiber River Sound. But yeah, exciting thing. But I'll be popping in as I'll probably be a guest in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your new band from Rome.
Yeah.
No,
Chunking
but
the Romans.
so I'll be continuing alone for a little bit. I'll have some opportunities for guest co-hosts. I'd love to have you on. Just shoot us an email or a message if you'd like to
He
come.
takes bribes?
I do not take bribes.
No bribes?
Only in the form of money.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, that's acceptable. Large bags of cash. They have to have a $sign written on the outside.
That's right. And
Yeah.
Gold coins only.
Yes. Yes. You're going Scrooge McDuck.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
see
fill.
it.
I want to fill a vault
Yeah.
just like that and swim
You
around.
ever
in
think
it.
about like what that would really be like? Like you watch it as a kid and you're like, yeah, look, he dives right
Oh, I
into
break my neck.
that. Yeah. Over. Quack.
So next few episodes are going to be Chuck's last for a while.
For a while. I'll be watching now. I'll
Please
be
do.
a creep. I'll be creeping from a different time zone.
All right, and Dan Bruce, thank you. We've taken up way too much of your time today.
Thanks for
thank
having
you
me.
for coming on.
That was
No, we
good.
didn't ask him the final question. We got distracted.
Oh, I'm building up for it.
Oh, are you?
I was.
Well,
I was.
I threw you off. See this? That's
Just-
why he's
just
getting
ask
ready.
it.
I'm really getting fired. That's what's really going on here. So the final question: any movie or TV show recommendations that you have? And this is when everybody draws a blank, so don't worry about it.
The premise.
Okay.
It's it's on Hulu,
All
which I don't have anymore. But it's the guy from The Office, B.J. Novak. Did you ever watch?
Yeah.
So Ryan from The Office.
Yeah.
He
Founder of Wolf.
Sorry,
Founder of Wolf.
I have no idea.
That's from The Office.
Okay.
I got you.
All right.
He wrote this show. He writes the episodes, and each episode is based on a philosophical premise. And then they write an hour-long episode, and it's like wonderful comedy, but it's based on a philosophical question. It's really cool.
All
And it's
right.
pretty deep, and it's hilarious.
I'll have to check that out.
That's a great
the premise. Yeah.
All right.
That's my.
Nice.
Cool. And then I know you said you're playing in Akron at that festival with your band, but this summer, any time in Cleveland that anybody can come see you perform?
Yeah. Yes. I play with. Well, there's the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra. We're doing a concert with this wonderful jazz violinist Regina Carter. May 20th, I believe. May 20th at the Maltz Center. I play in the band Alabawara. It's Anthony Tadeo, this drummer, leads this group, and it's
He's in Beta Collective too.
it's modern arrangements of Italian folk music. So
It's right up your alley.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, it's very cool. We're playing all over the place. I'm not going to know the dates, but you can always check these bands' websites.
Can you spell that? What you
Yeah,
just-
ALLA, Boara, BOARA.
Okay.
And then just doing some stuff with this Stephen Philip Harvey I was talking about. He's going to be, we're doing stuff on the East Coast, but then he's going to be back here in July, I believe. And then just gigs around. When I'm motivated, check my calendar and it'll be updated. I try.
You have a website we can check all that
Yeah,
out?
yeah, danbrucemusic.com.
All right, perfect.
Link below.
All right, well, thanks again for coming on here, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll see you around town this summer.
Yeah, wonderful.
For the Cuyahoga Sound Podcast, I'm Evan Stone.
I'm Chuck Schilling.
Peace.